Hello, this is Alessio. Today is Friday, the 18th of June, and this is a weekly report for the best performing charts. So let's start out with Adobe. So if I open up the chart that I sent out on June 14th, Adobe, which was last Monday, as you can see, I was expecting further upside into this wave 3, and of course after 3 comes a 4. So I warned members for wave 4, which could start anytime this week or the next one. And I also said, as always, that if opportunity presented itself, if that actually became a wave 4 and we could identify 3 subways, so an ABC pulled back in 3, we could have bought that. So now if we look at Adobe, you can see how we started to have a pullback, which eventually could be the wave 4. And if we go down to the hourly time frame, you can see how the initial move down appears to be in 3. I honestly struggle to count 5. I can count 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But as we know, 7 is also a number of it's a corrective pattern. 7 is 7, 11. So 3, 7, and 11 is they're the numbers of swings, which represent a correction. And here I can possibly count 5 was up. So I'm not sure whether the possible 4 is completed. Since it's a wave 4, I wouldn't be surprised to see more of a sideways movement, especially since the 2 was quite straightforward. So because of the rule of alternation, I would expect that. But what matters at this point is that since the initial move down appears to be in 3, we should still be then this will become a bullish correction and not a bearish market, if that makes sense. So moving on to the next one, which is Docusign. So if we look at the chart from June 9th, which is this one, June 9 DOCU, you can see how I send out to, remember I said 1, 2, the 3 was a very strong move up with an acceleration gap, which is very typical of wave 3. And I said, we might go a little bit further up and then start the correction into wave 4. So eventually we did move a little higher, and now it looks like we are ready. We are in the making of the 4, but if not, still what we can clearly see is that the trend is kind of paused for a little while. Now what is important to know, and what I also told members, is that potentially discount up could be counted as a higher degree. So this would be minute 1, so blue 1, minute 2, minute 3, minute 4, and 5. So with the top possibly slightly above the all-time high. That is a possibility, and it's actually more than a possibility. So it's something that we need to be aware of. Of course, if that was of a higher degree, discount would have to be moved 1 degree higher. Then of course we would have much less room up to go than expected. But that's actually my job to explore all the possibilities. Can we go lower from here? We haven't broken the previous wave X, so technically we could, but it's very rare that because this would be another wave X. It's actually very rare that wave X would break the previous wave B or the wave W, and it would go so close to the high of the previous wave X. But and as I said, also this acceleration gap looks like a typical wave 3. So that was DOCU. If we move on to the next one, which is Guardant Health. So on Guardant Health, this chart is also from June 9th. We can see how at the time, I'll zoom in. No, I can't, sorry. At the time, yes, I can actually. At the time, I was expecting for the downside. If you look at the chart now, we didn't make a new low. Sorry about that. Yeah, we didn't make a new low. But what we did is we started to move sideways. And the thing is that from the initial move up from here, I can count 3. I can count 1, 2, 3. While here, move down, 5 ways are pretty clear to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. So I wouldn't be surprised to see further downside at this stage. Need to be honest. And if we do resume lower, it'd be interesting, because if this is 1 and 2 of the C wave, then either it's going to become what could happen is that eventually the C wave will become a diagonal, and then in diagonal, otherwise it would become a pretty large wave 2. But it's possible, since the wave 2, technically you could go as low as this low, so around $60, without breaking any rules. But we'll see what's gonna happen. What is important at this stage, and what we know, is that the initial move down was in 5, so we should see further downside within the next days. Moving on to the next one, which is HDBE. This chart is from June 15th. It's pretty recent, and I noticed this possible leading diagonal. So I said, okay, if this is actually going to become a leading diagonal, we can't break past this high. We shouldn't go much higher, and instead start to resume lower, to correct lower. And if we look at it, actually, we can see how we did resume lower. Now, I had to move the trend line, but if we bring the trend line back in, we can see how we did move lower quite sharply. So at this stage, usually, if this is a wave 1 of a higher degree, so if this is blue 1, then blue 2 usually goes as deep as the wave 2 of the diagonal. The thing is that the wave 2 of the diagonal is quite, down. So yeah, I do expect further downside. Usually I would say that the target would be this area right here, between $70 and $68. But since it's this low, we could see anything. But definitely, I would like to see this go a little further. The alternate for this is that this was a wave A, this was a wave B, and now we are resuming down in C. So it's early to say which one it'll be, but it's good to know that both are possible at this stage. So if we move on to the next one, which is directive brokers, if I bring you the chart from June 10th, we can see I was expecting 5 ways down, possibly a little bit more downside, and of course after 5 ways down, all becomes 3 ways to the upside. So the thing is, I'll delete the vertical lines. Okay, so the thing is, yes, we did resume lower. Potentially you could actually go even lower. What is interesting though, and I'll show you, you can see here the RSI, is that we're starting to have some kind of divergence between the RSI and price. You see how price made a new low while the RSI didn't. Now, the RSI is something I personally use. It's not within, of course, not within the L wave, but I like to use that for divergence, especially in wave 5s. So yeah, we can see for a bit more downside, but I wouldn't be surprised to see price react higher anytime soon. Can the B wave trade it? Yes. I'm not a big fan of trading B waves, but yeah, eventually it could be better to trade the other move down into a C wave, because it's an impulse wave, of course. Then last but not least is Netflix. So if I bring you the old chart for Netflix, this update is from June 10th. You can see how I was expecting for the downside into a C, and I said to look for equality, so around $460. Now the thing with Netflix is that the initial move up was in 3. So this just looks like a consolidation. Looks like a corrective bearish pattern. So that's why I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm predicting for the downside, which eventually could take us much more lower. But looking at this, much more lower than the quality of Black A and C. So trading wise, I do favor the downside, as I just said, but I wouldn't feel confident taking a short, even though it's possible. It's very possible, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see price go past equality. That's for sure. So yeah, that was it for me today. Let me know in the comments if you have any question or doubts. I'm happy to answer, and I'll see you in the next one.